Chapter 1542. Yinhu was about to speak. But when he looked up, he saw the figure standing at the staircase. He shook his head at him. It was very slight, but it made Yinhu understand that today wasn't a suitable day to confess anything. But it was precisely because he understood that he tasted something bitter in his mouth. It was the same taste from the tip of his tongue to his heart. Yinhu watched as the figure turned and walked back to the room. He said a few comforting words to Mother Lin. In reality, he didn't even know what he said in such a state. Just like what Mother Lin said, others might not understand Lin Feng. But he knew better than anyone else. That person appeared to be carefree, but he knew what responsibility was more than anyone else. Even now, Yinhu could still remember that stubborn look. Both of them weren't tall when they were young, and they were often bullied. Speaking of which, he had always stood in front of him. It wasn't because of how strong he was at that time, but because he would always say to those people, "Don't bully me." Even if he couldn't beat him, he would still say that. At the start, Yinhu felt that he was stupid. He looked like a little bun, but he still stood in front of him. Didn't this guy know how to run first? He had asked someone before. In the end, a certain someone opened his eyes wide. "If I leave, who will protect you?" It seemed to have been from that time. Yinhu felt that he had a very important person. He was 5 or 6 years old, but he only wanted that person to accompany him. Who was the one who said that when we came into this world, we were all lonely individuals. This feeling couldn't be erased. Even if you had parents who loved you, in the dead of night, you still want to be alone. Someone who was good to you. Lin Feng had never been a person with stable results since he was young. But every time, in order to be in the same class as him, he would always work harder than anyone else. Everything you get is not meant to be in your hands. Even if in the eyes of many people, it was good to have a good life. But when you had a good life, you wanted friends. Even someone who was more than a friend. When he was young, he didn't want to be a lover. He was not that good at first awakening of love. But compared to being a lover, he wanted to be with the other party for the rest of his life. This thought existed countless times. Hence, Yinhu was afraid. He was afraid that Lin Feng would shrink back because of some responsibility. Hence, when he entered with the fruit platter, Yinhu didn't say a word. He pressed her against the wall and kissed her lips fiercely. However, Lin Feng didn't continue pestering him. Instead, he used his strength and said in a deep voice, "Even if lightning strikes you, you're not allowed to regret it. Lin Feng, you slept with me, so you have to take responsibility." Lin Feng paused for a moment before cursing. Since it was inconvenient for him to move, he could only hold his forehead and growl. "You were the one who slept with me. Don't go overboard." Yinhu didn't linger on the topic. Instead, he lowered his head, his voice calm. "I won't let you go on a blind date. If you really go, I'll destroy all your relationships just like how I did in school. I'll snatch whoever you like. You should understand that it's easy for me to do that." When Lin Feng heard this, his mouth opened and closed. "You did it on purpose then?" "Yes." Yinhu's eyes dimmed. He seemed to have gambled everything. It didn't matter if he was confident or self-centered. It didn't matter if he dragged this person into the most difficult path. He couldn't let go. In the past, he could still tell himself that it was fine as long as he stayed by his side. However, when he truly obtained someone and tasted the sweetness, he would understand that seeing him happy was nonsense. Only he could give him his happiness. Lin Feng watched the expression of the person in front of him. A sense of familiarity slowly came over him. He remembered when he had seen Yinhu reveal such an expression. It was the first time he went to KFC with a girl he had feelings for. Back then, they did their homework on the second floor of KFC. Unlike now, high school students could still go to coffee shops. After finishing their homework, he had to treat her to a meal. In the first year of high school, he had already started to want to play games. Hence, he was very interested in the big players in the shopping mall. Moreover, that girl wanted to play too. They went upstairs after their meal. At first, there wasn't much. After that, he grabbed a doll and gave it to the girl. The girl blushed and hugged him. At that time, Lin Feng was a little confused. Before he could react, he saw Yinhu. That person wasn't wearing the school uniform. That person wasn't wearing the school uniform, but the Supreme Alliance's uniform. He just stood there, one hand in his pocket, looking at him without a word. Lin Feng felt awkward at that time. After all, when he was young, he would feel shy when his best brother saw him with a girl. Moreover, Yinhu had sent him a message asking where he was. His reply was that he would be back soon. But it had been more than an hour since Yinhu's message. Lin Feng originally wanted to call out to Yinhu, but that person didn't seem to see him. He turned and left. Lin Feng remembered that was Yinhu's expression at that time. After that, the girl sent him messages every day. Then, she sent him a message every 3 days and a week. Occasionally, when she was bored, she would send him a message. Lin Feng only wanted to join the team. He didn't think much about this aspect. But he didn't say that he didn't care. He still wanted to pick a gift for that girl's birthday. But on that day, Yinhu brought a girlfriend back. It was that girl. Lin Feng was indeed a little dumbfounded. However, what he would feel the most would probably come from his brothers fighting over him. He even communicated with Yinhu. In the future, tell me in advance if you like someone. He remembered that Yinhu tilted his head and took off his uniform. Why? Are you afraid that the person I like won't like you? Lin Feng fought him back then, but he didn't land his fist on the other party's face. Be more serious. I just feel that since we're in a relationship, we should be more serious with each other. Besides, you could have told me in advance that I wouldn't have touched anyone you liked. Isn't that good? F***ck me. Indeed it's good. But what if I say that I always like people you like? What are you going to do? Lin Feng? You're really. I'm joking. I'll tell you in advance in case you hate me. I'm really sorry about this. I know you like her. I knew it when I saw you guys at the big players, but I couldn't control it. Chapter 1543. Lin Feng didn't know what expression to show anymore. The Yin family will definitely arrange a blind date for you. Compared to me, Yinhu, shouldn't you think about it more? You're the only child in the Yin family, and you're in a different industry. You should know if you're suitable for me. In the past, you said you liked me, but you never let me come into contact with your circle. When you went overseas, I did some research. Many people like men while harming women. How many girls have been married without realizing it? How many people still think they're forced to live this way because they want to carry on the family line? I can't understand it. If it was me, liking men is liking men. Who asked me to like you? You're a man. I won't harm any other girl. Even if I end up alone, I won't be forgiven by my mother. I will be like this and perhaps disappoint my mother. When I was young, she asked me what kind of wife I wanted to marry. My grandmother doted on me and gave me everything I wanted. If I wanted to play esports, she would let me play esports. If I said I would stay in school for another year, she would let me stay. I was even a little afraid of telling them what kind of relationship I had with you. My mother has always been open-minded, but even the most open-minded parent would cry after hearing this news. I've let her down the most in my life. Now that the Lin family has fallen, it's because I've acted according to my own personality. I want to continue playing esports, but it's no longer suitable. My hand speed can't keep up and I can't put all my heart into it. I'm not afraid of the netizens saying that Lin Feng can't do it anymore, or that you're a disappointment. I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid that I won't be passionate about what I'm doing now. Besides, my mother and grandmother need me. I understand that my mother is good in business and most people can't do anything to her. But I hope that I'll be the one attending the necessary social gatherings. I might never be able to get married and have children to fulfill her wishes, but I want to take on some responsibilities. If I really start a relationship, I'll be especially busy. Can you take it? I'll probably be discussing projects everywhere. I might even pretend to be a grandson, or I'll only have money in my eyes. When that happens. Chapter 1544. The sudden flirtation made Lin Feng cough. I don't need you to tell me that I'm handsome. Yinhu smiled and didn't say anything else, but his gaze was still on his face. Lin Feng turned his head, the back of his ears still a little red. After seeing her tomorrow, I will tell Fox Feng that I plan to retire in 2 days. In the future, I will have to manage the company and attend classes at school. I won't have time to join the team anymore. But I'm still very happy. At least I can stay until the recruitment. When I saw Little Mo Bay, it was like seeing Luoluo, Little Spade and Captain. Talent really exists. The Supreme Alliance wouldn't just disband, right? When he reached the end of his sentence, Lin Feng lowered his head slightly. When his black hair fell down, it covered his eyes. No one seemed to like mentioning the word retire. If it was possible, they all wanted to play one more match. Even the sounds of mockery could be heard. Every match would be extremely stressful. But after so many years, he seemed to be used to it. There was a group of people who had always been with him. From when he was a minor to when he was an adult. And from when he was ignorant, he grew up to be a man with sharp features. If it was possible, he really didn't want to disband. Yinhu replied faintly as though he was saying it to himself. It won't. He knew very well that Lin Feng made this decision. Between esports and him, he chose him. He gave up playing esports for another year and a half to take on all the responsibilities of the Lin family. But it was to repay the debt they owed. Yinhu couldn't get rid of Lin Feng's guilt. Nothing else happened that night. Even though Lin Feng's heart was beating fast. But more than that, he felt comfortable with the existence of another person. The two of them slept on the same bed, their heads leaning against each other, just like how they used to do homework and train at the same time. At that time, they were also trainees of the Supreme Alliance. They just wanted to participate in the competition one day. Now everything seemed to be perfect. The next day, Lin Feng received a message from Bojio. There was only one sentence. Guess if I believe what you said, Flower Lin. Lin Feng lowered his head and snapped a photo of Yinhu in an imposing manner. He sent it over. He's still on my bed and I'm already awake. I don't think I need to elaborate on the rest. After sending the message, Lin Feng took out a suit. He planned to go to the company to attend a meeting as a low-level manager after the meal with the woman. However, just as he was about to take off the t-shirt, the person behind him suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a pair of deep, black eyes. You're awake so early? Yinhu's voice was low and hoarse, probably because he had just woken up. Lin Feng's hands were a little hesitant. He didn't know why, but it wasn't like he hadn't changed in front of this guy before. Why did it feel so awkward now? It was as if his back was being burned by someone's gaze. Even his face was burning. Forget it, who cares? Lin Feng grabbed the hem of his shirt with both hands and quickly dug his head out. The t-shirt was still hanging on his arm. He felt the footsteps getting closer and closer to him. There was a faint sense of a powerful existence. But before he had the time to look back. Chapter 1545. It was a kiss. It was like a light breeze. But it made Lin Feng's shoulders tremble. His hands turned soft and his neck turned red. F***CK, what are you doing? Kissing you. Yinhu didn't stop because of his anger. Instead, he moved his lips up half an inch and placed it behind his ear. Lin Feng didn't know what expression to make. His waist was hugged from behind, and he was about to be kissed again. Who could take it? He was almost getting a reaction from the kiss. Yinhu noticed the change in him. He chuckled softly. It was a little deep and he took a step closer. Lin Feng reached out and pushed him away. He took off his t-shirt and threw it to the side. Don't act like a hooligan in the morning. Hooligan. Yinhu looked at him, his gaze deep. Boss Lin, who is going to come back in 2 days. It shouldn't be a problem for you to face such a kiss. The words Boss Lin successfully made Lin Feng happy. He put on the white shirt, his aura high. Of course it's not a problem. Since it's not a problem, why don't you kiss a little longer? Yinhu had already placed his arm by his side. His right hand was supporting himself against the wardrobe. He tilted his head slightly and with a tilt of his eyes, he kissed Lin Feng. Such a space was more suitable for doing bad things. Even the sound of breathing could be heard clearly. Each sound was louder than the one before. Lin Feng had that feeling again. The air seemed to have been sucked out of him. His feet felt light, and his heart was beating so fast that it made him blush. He could hear the sound of clothes rubbing against each other. Lin Feng. You're getting a reaction. That light chuckle was like a fire that was sprinkled over him. It was so hot that Lin Feng couldn't think. Yinhu originally wanted to leave a mark on this person, especially since he was going out to meet a girl. He was very clear about a certain someone's charm. Usually, his face looked like a little puppy, but with his height, long legs and narrow hips, he would be popular on any live streaming app. He was the type that young girls liked. Not to mention the way he looked when he wore a white shirt, a suit and a watch. Yinhu admitted that he was jealous. Hence, she didn't even hold back, and the kiss on Lin Feng's neck was exceptionally deep. Sometimes, Lin Feng felt that it was inconceivable. He was clearly a straight man of steel. How could he have fallen for her seduction so quickly? Did Yinhu secretly learn something behind his back? Or perhaps, Lin Feng took advantage of the gap and raised his eyes, slightly panting. Where did you learn all this from? Does Hatsune know all this? Yinhu paused for a moment. Then he chuckled lightly and placed his right hand on his thigh. Why? Jealous? Eat your sister's vinegar. I was just casually asking. Lin Feng's eyes fluttered. It's the same the last time I saw you. You're starting to go to those kinds of places. I just feel a little unfamiliar. Yunhu lowered his body slightly, as though he was whispering into Lin Feng's ear. Indeed, people often send people to my place and there are many entertainment venues, but I haven't touched any of them. With a cream cake like you around, I don't want to eat cake crumbs. Chapter 1546. Why don't you let me enjoy it now, almighty Lin Feng? Yinhu said, lowering his lids. Only then did Lin Feng realize that his leg had been lifted by this person. He took a step back and was pushed against the wardrobe. Some of the clothes inside slid off the hanger, making noises. It was probably because such a secret space made it easier for the active party to take action. Before Lin Feng could feed the other party, his breath was snatched away once again. This time, the force was much greater than the last time. It was as though he wanted to swallow him whole. Even his breath was hot. It was said that men use their bodies to think. Lin Feng didn't believe it at first. But now he believed it. Because sometimes there was no time to think. It was too hot, too erect, so he wanted the other party to help. Most importantly, Yinhu wanted him to show this side. When he lifted the corner of his lips, there was a hint of blackness. Just meet, no more than an hour. After you're done, call me. I'll wait for you nearby. Even if she's pretty, you can't have a good impression of her. After this ends, delete her WeChat. Yinhu, damn you. Is this the time to talk about this? Lin Feng's body was so hot that he just wanted relief. But the person who was controlling him stopped at this moment. Yinhu blocked his hand, his voice calm. If you agree, I'll serve you. You should know that it's better if I help you. F***ck. Lin Feng was going crazy, his handsome face blushing slightly, his breath hot. I agree, just meet. Delete my WeChat when I come back. Yinhu hugged the person who seemed to have been scooped out of the water. He used strength, lowered his lids and kissed his neck. Only he could see him like this. His emotions were aroused, and his handsome appearance was revealed. Only he could see him. Other people, be it men or women. He couldn't stand it. Who could see him like this? Yinhu lowered his gaze, as though he was saying something in Lin Feng's ear. Lin Feng opened his eyes and then, as though he was released, he leaned back into the wardrobe, the heat still lingering on his body. But because of the other party's breath, the words were extremely clear. I like you, Lin Feng, I like you. It really was. Lin Feng raised his arm and pressed down on his bangs. If that was the case, it wouldn't make sense if he didn't respond. Me too. Yinhu, who was kissing his left shoulder, suddenly paused. His gaze wavered and suddenly became unfathomable. Lin Feng's half-bent leg froze because that thing was too obvious. Hey, it's so early in the morning, you. Yinhu pressed him down and didn't move. Instead, he whispered in his ear. You did it on purpose, didn't you? You knew the timing wasn't right. That's why you flirted with me. I'm just replying to you. Lin Feng opened his mouth. Who knows? Did you take some medicine? Chapter 1547. F***ck. Lin Feng interrupted Yinhu. After recovering his strength, he pulled his collar over with one hand. If you dare to do that, I'll cripple you. Yinhu chuckled lightly. I haven't waited for 5 years. Lin Feng wanted to say something. Yinhu glanced over and planted another kiss on his lips. You can do it now if you want. This state is good. Lin Feng dispersed the heat on his body. Good my *SS I haven't pressed it back. Then should I press it back now? Yinhu stretched his hand over. Just then there was a knock on the door. Then he pushed the door open. Lin Feng's entire body froze. Yinhu's reaction was fast. He closed the wardrobe. Then he turned his head. It was Mother Lin, but she didn't enter. She opened the door and said, "Go down for dinner." "Where's Lin Feng? Isn't he up yet?" Yinhu blocked the door and smiled. "He's in the bathroom." Mother Lin nodded and said, "I made your favorite egg noodles." Yinhu placed one hand behind his back. "I'll go wash up and go down immediately." Mama Lin said, "Okay." Then she went downstairs happily. As a strong woman, she didn't cook at home often, but since the children were around, she was willing to cook for herself. Yinhu really went to wash his hands. After he was done, he said to the gloomy Lin Feng behind him, "It's all your stuff." Lin Feng really felt that this person deserved a beating. When he was brushing his teeth, he was thinking about pressing it back. The two of them left the door at the same time. Mother Lin told Yinhu to come over when he was free. Yinhu sat in the front passenger seat and glanced over. "I'll come and disturb Godmother often." "What do you mean by disturbing?" Mother Lin said. "It's our home." Lin Feng fastened his seatbelt and interrupted. "MMH, you've always been the one who kissed me. I'm the one who was picked up." Mother Lin smiled and didn't forget to remind Lin Feng. "Speak properly when you meet today. Don't be silly and learn from Yinhu, understand?" MMH. Lin Feng glanced up and thought for a moment. In the end, he didn't say the words that wouldn't end well. He started the car and didn't talk much along the way. When they got out of the car, Yinhu reached out to press on his right hand. "I'll change and come pick you up." "I know, hurry up and go in." Lin Feng could sense his uneasiness. Sometimes, he would think that he was pretty impressive to be able to make someone like Yinhu feel uneasy. The location of the meeting was a very high-end coffee shop. Lin Feng was not late. Instead, he arrived early. He ordered 2 drinks and paid the bill in advance. Just as Yinhu had said, he was too eye-catching in his suit and white shirt, especially when his collar was slightly unbuttoned. When he raised his arm to check his watch, he looked even more handsome. This made the girl who had just arrived blush. After taking a deep breath, he said, "God Lin." Lin Feng turned around and saw a girl standing there. He smiled and said, "Miss Liang, right? Shall we sit down and talk?" The girl was very excited. After all, this was not only the closest she had ever been to her Prince Charming, but it was also an opportunity for them to develop into a couple. She had prepared for so long, and now she let her grandpa do the talking, just for this day. Chapter 1548. The girl stilled, her smile stiff, but she didn't want to give up just like that. She clenched her fists. "We'll know after we get to know each other, right? I've really liked you for a long time. I watch all your matches." "Since you watch every match, Liang, then you should know who I like." When Lin Feng said this, it was because he knew that Yinhu had been watching their competition, and should have some understanding in this area. After all, it wasn't as if no one had paired him and Yinhu together online. The girl's expression changed. "Don't tell me that the rumors online are true. You and Almighty Yun, aren't you good brothers?" "We were indeed good brothers in the past, but now we're lovers." Lin Feng's gaze wavered, his expression turning serious. "I hope you can keep this a secret. As for the rest, I can't reply to Miss Liang, but thank you for always supporting and liking me." Swoosh. The girl seemed to lose control, and stood up from the table. "You don't have to thank me, because I won't like you in the future. I really didn't expect you to actually like men. What are you doing? Are you cheating our feelings?" Lin Feng finally realized that he had misunderstood something. "Miss Liang, you seem to have misunderstood." "Forget it. I'll take it as a misunderstanding." The girl grabbed her bag and walked out. Her previous liking was a joke to her. Since he liked guys, why didn't he admit it when his fans asked? He even hoped that she would keep it a secret. He was afraid that his image would crumble after everyone found out about him. The girl couldn't take it anymore. gossiping with her female friend. When Lin Feng had said those words, he hadn't expected what would happen next. He hadn't expected anyone to understand. In the end, he had been too naive. He had become stupid from playing games. That was why he didn't know his own position. Because of her identity, he didn't think it was a big deal. She would look at it rationally. But that wasn't the case. He had realized the problem when Yin Hu had come to pick him up. At that time, Lin Feng hadn't been able to lift his spirits, but he hadn't shown it in front of Yin Hu. After all, such things would happen frequently in the future. But the outcome was far from what he had imagined. The internet broke the news. A certain famous esports player is obviously gay, but he still went on a blind date. He's obviously cheating. Such a title would naturally attract people's attention. A large number of posts were asking, "Who is it? Who is it?" I really don't dare to say it. I'm afraid that my fans will tear me apart, so I'll just vaguely mention it. Everyone can guess. They used to be mediocre in games, but I don't know how they became a god. They probably relied on their CP to always appear in 2v2 matches, becoming this year's champion team. F***CK, that's impossible. Wind. Cloud. Is it Lin Feng or Yin Hu? My almighty Yin has always been very powerful, alright. Is that Lin Feng? Sounds like it. Impossible. God Lin would never do such a thing. Then go ask your god Lin whether he is gay or not. What a joke. Actually, I've long wanted to expose this Lin Feng. I heard that he was the one who came up with that thing earlier. That can't be. I always thought Supreme Alliance was good. Supreme Alliance isn't bad, but ever since I found out that he relied on his looks to make a living, I don't like him anymore. Gaming is a competition of skills. Is it about looks? Almighty Lin was obviously joking. Can you guys talk about the same thing? Sure, ask him if he's gay. Such an incident would definitely spread quickly. Even the Qin Group's building was filled with tabloids. Some of the trainees who had long disliked the selection system seized this opportunity. No matter who came to ask, they were full of dissatisfaction. Everyone's wish is to join the best team in the country, but this team appears to be one way in front of everyone, and another way in private. Recruitment doesn't look at skills but looks. Who asked handsome people to attract more fans? That's fine, but what is this? The team doesn't look like a team at all. It's all personal. He even said that he would give every member a fair chance. Does he really think we don't know? Senior Lin wasn't considered good in the past, but he relied on almighty Yin to get in. How do we feel? Disappointed, really disappointed. Do you know how Lin Feng feels now? I don't know, he didn't join the team. He's probably thinking about how to do public relations. In reality, some people were wrong. Public relations had always been handled by Feng Yi and not the members of the team. It wasn't that Lin Feng didn't want to make things clear. Feng Yi only told him one sentence. I can't explain it clearly. The atmosphere in the team changed. Even little Mo Bei, who only ate steamed buns every day, could sense it. But it didn't seem to affect her training. Some of the people waiting downstairs had come to interview her. At that time, no one knew that this short-haired child would become the gaming genius Bei that everyone would chase after in the near future. Hence, the person who came didn't even turn on the camera and asked her what she thought about Senior Lin's appearance. These people probably didn't understand little Mo Bei's personality. Little Mo Bei only glanced at the person. She was carrying the keyboard, her face cold and noble. She didn't say a word. Right. She didn't say a word. That was why the people above had the chance to speak. When little Mo Bei heard those words, she retracted her short legs that were originally going up the stairs. She was about to rush over and say something, but she was pulled back by the figure standing at the corner. Under the dusk light, her silver hair and the long curve of her chin could be seen. Her handsome and evil face could be seen. She bent down and placed her finger on her thin lips, gesturing for her to keep quiet. It was almighty Z. She looked very handsome. Little Mo Bei didn't understand. She followed Bojio silently for a period of time before stopping in her tracks. Bojio glanced over and smiled. Do you really want to say something? MMH, little Mo Bei replied. Chapter 1549. Hence, that night, Bojo brought little Mo-Bei back to the Chin family. When Chin Mo saw the little figure following behind a certain someone, his hand that was unbuttoning his sleeves paused for a moment. Madame Zhang was delighted. Where did this little handsome boy come from? He looks really good. Little Mo-Bei was still carrying her red keyboard. When she heard Madame Zhang's words, the back of her ears turned red. Bojo placed a hand on the little person's shoulder and smiled brightly. Haha, Madame Zhang, Bei is a girl. Little girl? Madame Zhang looked at little Mo-Bei again. Look carefully, she is indeed much cuter than those naughty little kids. Right, Bei is very obedient, but her expression is a little cold. She looks just like Brother Mo when he was young, making people want to pinch her. When the little person heard this, she turned her head and saw the person's clear smile. It was very warm. Little Mo-Bei wanted to look a little longer. Just then, she saw their captain walking towards them. Even though she was wearing home clothes, her aura was still very strong. Little Mo-Bei bowed and called out, "Captain." "Mh." Chin Mo replied faintly. He didn't say anything, but his gaze conveyed some meaning. He was probably telling her not to look at people she shouldn't look at. When little Mo-Bei received that gaze, her little face was still expressionless. But in her heart, she was thinking that the seniors were right. Captain's possessiveness towards Almighty Z was very obvious. "Let's go, Bei. Let me observe your gaming habits from a close distance." Bojo still had a lazy smile on her face. Little Mo-Bei nodded and followed behind Bojo obediently. When he saw this, Chin Mo narrowed his deep eyes and his long legs followed. Bojo originally wanted to teach Mo-Bei alone. She didn't understand why the Almighty followed her in. He sat opposite them. His slender legs were slightly crossed, and there was a magazine on them. Bojo looked up and glanced over. She didn't pay much attention and sat beside little Mo-Bei, watching her enter the game. The adult and the child seemed to forget themselves when they started doing things. Especially when little Mo-Bei understood Bojo's intentions. She reversed her position and used her second skill to charge forward, completing the counterattack. Bojo reached out and caressed her head. "You're so smart. Come, Bei, let's celebrate." Smile. Little Mo-Bei hadn't moved. There was one person who couldn't sit still anymore. It was the Almighty. He reached out his hand to hold a certain someone's wrist. "It's time to eat. Aunt Zhang prepared a lot of food for you." The moment Bojo heard about food, her dark eyes lit up. She turned towards the clock hanging on the wall and stretched lazily, her hair moving slightly. "It's already so late, it's indeed time to eat." Little Mo-Bei also stood up when she heard that, and was planning to leave. Bojo pressed the little person onto the wooden chair. "It's a good time to nourish your body today. You won't grow taller eating steamed buns. Madame Zhang's cooking is really good." Little Mo-Bei couldn't reject her idol's passion, and it seemed like the captain didn't say anything. Indeed, Chin Mo didn't care about eating. However, would a certain someone pay too much attention to this little bean? Chin Mo didn't say anything. After all, he had to consider the child's pride. Hence, little Mo-Bei watched as Almighty Z was dragged away by the captain to wash her hands. Even during the meal, the captain was the one who placed the chicken wings in Almighty Z's bowl. The usually handsome and devilish Almighty Z seemed to only be in charge of eating. Little Mo-Bei didn't expect Almighty Z to be like this at home. However, when Almighty Z was in front of the captain, she was much more relaxed. Even the smile on her face was different. Little Mo-Bei didn't know how to describe it. She just felt that the atmosphere was very good. After the meal, the two of them walked into the study room to continue their training. Little Mo-Bei felt that the things in the study room didn't match up. Half of the room was filled with books, and most of them were related to psychology. On the other side, there were 2 desktop computers and 4 laptops. There were also some unknown models on the floor. Later, when she went to drink water, she found out from Madame Zhang that the Chin family's study room didn't look like this in the past. The captain had emptied half the room for Almighty Z so that she could store her things. Little Mo-Bei had never come into contact with matters of the heart. But when she was in middle school, she had seen her classmates having feelings for each other. She felt that the best kind of love was what the captain had for Almighty Z. He was such a cold and abstinent person. but he allowed another person to occupy his private area. Even the things placed in the study room didn't match the overall style. The captain would also allow Almighty Z to do as she pleased. Even the office table had candies. Little Mo Bay lowered her eyes. As a fan, she knew that Almighty Z liked to hold a lollipop in her mouth even when she was playing games. This candy should be prepared for Almighty Z. Because Little Mo Bay was distracted, someone almost caught up to her in the game. Her mouse moved slightly. She touched Bojio's arm. That was when she realized that Almighty Z had fallen asleep. Just as Little Mo Bay was hesitating whether she should speak, the captain walked over. The captain, who was sitting on the sofa, had already walked over. He bent over and carried Almighty Z. He looked at her calmly. That's all for today's training. If you have any problems in the future, you can look for me. Captain, do you feel that I'm taking up Almighty Z's time? Little Mo Bay mustered up her courage when she asked this question. Chin Mo glanced at the little person and said calmly, "It has nothing to do with time. You are taking up my time." Even though Little Mo Bay had a poker face, she didn't know how to describe her expression at this moment. Chin Mo stood there with the person in his arms, his back facing her. His legs were slender and he glanced sideways. Even if she doesn't teach you, you should be able to fight 1 against 3. The genius newbie of the Supreme Alliance can't be called that for nothing. Little Mo Bay replied and carried her backpack. I will do my best. There is a document on the table. Chin Mo's tone was calm. Other than the official contract, there are some problems with your playing style. After reading it, don't look for her. When you are in the team, make her drink more water, understand? Little Mo Bay understood what her captain meant. Anyway, he didn't want her to look for Almighty Z privately. Then, when they were in the team, she would help him control Almighty Z. From that day onwards, Little Mo Bay was in charge of watching Bojio drink water. Of course, this was all in the future. And in the Chin family, Chin Mo had just bent over to place Bojio on the bed when she woke up. Her silver hair was a little messy from sleep. She reached out to rub her left eye lazily. I fell asleep? Where is Bei Bei? Chapter 1550. The way he addressed her. Bojio didn't need to look at his addictive face to know that the Almighty was jealous again. She had assumed that the Almighty would use the excuse of bringing someone home for a meal to bully her. Unexpectedly, he pulled the blanket over her and pulled her into his arms, his voice calm. We'll talk after you wake up. He was coaxing her to sleep. Bojio really wanted to sleep since they were about to start. It didn't seem like her to read until 11 p.m. She was too hardworking. Bojio moved in Chin Mo's arms. Chin Mo arched a brow, his handsome face inching closer. You don't want to sleep? Then do something else. Bojio shut her eyes immediately. I just wanted to ask old Fox Feng how he is going to resolve Flower Lin's matter. He isn't going to resolve it. Chin Mo's gaze landed on one point, his eyes darkening. Lin Feng will announce his retirement tonight. Compared to what others say, the Lin family's opinion is more important to him. Bojio stilled. Retirement? Today? He was going to retire, but he brought it forward by less than a month. Chin Mo's gaze was calm. This time, he has made up his mind and probably won't be so reluctant. It isn't a bad thing since he has to take some time to resolve his family's problems. Bojio replied, remaining silent. Sleep. Chin Mo lowered his lids, planting a kiss on her head. That was when Bojio realized that Lin Feng's retirement might be painful for her, but for the Almighty, it had a different meaning. They had worked hard together for 3 years. From Supreme Alliance's weakest point to where they were now, the people from the same generation as the Almighty were also retiring one after another. Bojio had expected the people around her to bring it up, but she hadn't expected it to be in such a manner. Lin Feng returned home late that day. He wasn't avoiding it, but he had to settle his other matters before meeting his mother and grandmother. Hence, not long after the incident, he had planned to tell Feng Yi that he wanted to retire. That was how Chin Mo knew about the news. As a manager, Feng Yi didn't agree with Lin Feng's decision to retire. If you choose to retire now, you won't be able to explain yourself. Think whatever you want. To be honest, it's a little annoying. Ever since I joined Supreme Alliance, it has been going back and forth. When Captain lost his memory, they told him not to come back because it would affect the competition. I didn't want to continue playing. It has nothing to do with anyone. It's just something I can't figure out. In the past, when esports wasn't accepted, I didn't feel this way. At that time, I hoped for the industry to be recognized. For this thought, I would often do stupid things. The all-star era of esports is coming. My personality isn't suited to be a public figure. This era isn't suitable for me. Besides, my condition is deteriorating. With that, Lin Feng paused. You should have realized it a long time ago. Fengyi didn't reply immediately. Instead, he turned to light a cigarette. After a few puffs, he tugged his collar open. This was the first time he revealed a tired smile, but it didn't change his aura. Yes, it isn't just you. The entire Supreme Alliance probably can't adapt. Young Master Qin has some thoughts in this regard. What thoughts? Lin Feng had a feeling the answer wasn't one he wanted to hear. Fengyi glanced over, smoke swirling around him. Disband Supreme Alliance. Lin Feng froze. When did you start having this thought? We've discussed it before. Fengyi seemed much more relaxed. Some of the analysis isn't wrong. There is a gap in Supreme Alliance. Logically speaking, all of you are considered old almighties in the industry. It is normal for you to retire, even young Master Qin. He can only last for a year, but a year is too short. Who will replace Uncle Yin? Who will replace you? And who can replace young Master Qin? Lin Feng opened his mouth, momentarily at a loss for words. I never expected Captain to have such thoughts. In a certain sense, his mission has long been completed. He didn't mention it because he was waiting for everyone to bring it up first. Fengyi tilted his head, flicking the cigarette in his hand. Supreme Alliance has been on the decline since a long time ago. Many teams brought up many conditions, be it money or resources, just to poach him. Fortunately, he is Qin Mo and the Qin family doesn't lack money. He doesn't have to be like the other professional players, unable to make a decision. He stayed here and never thought of leaving Supreme Alliance. In the end, when the funds ran out, he invested. Fengyi chuckled lightly. Actually, that person's motive for joining the professional team was very simple. He said that the person he was looking for liked to play games, so when he stood on the professional stage, he would always be seen by that person. Even until now, there are still people doubting his intentions for joining the industry, thinking that he didn't really love the industry. But so what? In my heart, he is the most qualified captain of Supreme Alliance. Lin Feng, do you remember what he said when you first joined the team? Lin Feng's fingers stilled. I remember. It wasn't easy for Supreme Alliance to recruit. Yes, it wasn't easy. Firstly, I didn't have any connections. The Feng family's connections were all in the entertainment industry. Secondly, he was still a high school student. Other than him, Supreme Alliance didn't have any outstanding members. Compared to other big teams, they weren't even worth mentioning, but at that time he told Yin Hu and me to join Supreme Alliance and that he would lead you into the National League. Lin Feng finished Fengyi's sentence, a faint warmth in his heart. Fengyi chuckled. Isn't it cool? Besides, regardless of what he promised you or me, he did it. Lin Feng lowered his lids slightly. Yes, he did it. Chapter 1551. Fengyi stubbed out the cigarette on his finger. He stood there, dressed in a well-ironed suit, as if he had never changed. All right, let's first announce your retirement. This kind of decision was received by almost everyone in the battle team, including Yin Wuyao, who was watching Coco and the others eat instant noodles. The atmosphere quietened down in an instant. It seemed like it had reached this point. They wouldn't show it no matter what they encountered. Just silence. Coco was the same. Yin Wuyao was the only one who spoke. I wanted to talk to Fengyi about my retirement. It would be better to announce it at the same time. Coco's hand that was holding the plastic fork paused. Then he replied, Mh. Shui Yaoyao buried her entire face, probably worried about what expression she would reveal. Feng Shang swiped his phone, his fingers tightening. Yin Wuyao lit a cigarette. That's normal. Even if he knew it was normal, he would have thought of it. But it was still a little hard to accept. The news had already been sent out. In an instant, good and bad comments came flooding in. Some said he couldn't bear to. Some said Lin Feng had a guilty conscience. The truth was just as Feng Yi had predicted. But regardless of the voices, at this moment, it didn't matter to Lin Feng. But things like snowballs would get bigger and bigger as they rolled. They started to explain what Lin Feng had done. Those who were gay were the first to be attacked. The rest were additional revelations. There wasn't a need to verify their authenticity. There were many fans standing below the company, just wanting an explanation. The media came as well, knowing that today was the day Supreme Alliance would confirm the new members. Many trainees were waiting for this battle. Of course, they wanted to interview Lin Feng the most. No matter what Lin Feng said, it would be a topic. It was a pity Lin Feng didn't appear. Lin Feng wasn't worried about whether people would interview him or not. He was kneeling in front of the Lin family, looking at the figure sitting on the sofa, saying, "Mom, I'm sorry, I won't be able to let you have grandchildren in the future." Mother Lin had always been a professional dresser. At this moment, she took a deep breath. She didn't know how to describe her emotions since last night. It wasn't that Hu Zi wasn't good. She had watched him grow up. But she didn't understand. How did things turn out like this? "I remember that you like girls. Feng, can't you change it? I know that you and Hu Zi grew up together and have a good relationship, but you are both too young. It is very likely that you will recognize the current relationship as something else." As Mama Lin said this, she met Lin Feng's eyes. How could she not understand her son? He was saying that he couldn't change. "I can't accept it." Mama Lin reached out to support her head. "Let's not talk about whether I can accept it or not. After your father passed away, your grandmother has been waiting for you to get married. I've been helping you hide this incident. I didn't let some of the Lin family's clients tell your grandmother, but how long can it be hidden? I'm sorry." It seemed like Lin Feng had nothing else to say other than this sentence. Mama Lin stood up. "I have to go to the company. The Liang family is very angry. We have to renegotiate the contract. I'll go talk to him." Perhaps because he had been kneeling for too long, Lin Feng's long legs were a little bent when he stood up. Chapter 1552. Lin Feng's fingers paused and he didn't say anything. Looking at her son, Mother Lin took a deep breath. "I'll tell them that my son went on a blind date to make it clear to Miss Liang that they aren't suitable, and that he didn't want to lie. However, the Liang family can even reveal their personal secrets. In the future, the Lin family won't share any resources with the Liang family." Lin Feng's body trembled and he raised his head. His eyes flickered and he said in a hoarse voice, "Mom, you're so handsome. Don't be happy too early. I still can't accept you and Hu Zi." Mother Lin cried. "Why do the two of you make the family worry so much?" Lin Feng was most afraid of his mother crying. He was flustered for a while before he reached out and hugged her. "That's all. I won't let you worry about me anymore." Mother Lin didn't say anything else. Lin Feng also knew that it would take a long time for him to accept this. He also knew that he had a good mother. He was born in a very happy family. It was just that this was too hard to accept. If it was someone he didn't know, it would at most be a matter of sexual orientation. But once he becomes your dearest and most beloved, how could he accept it? It was because he was open-minded that he knew that this path was too difficult. Many people said that men and women were true love. But in reality, it was rare for men to have a sense of responsibility. Even if they had a fixed boyfriend, they would find someone else to play with. Needless to say, what would happen after feelings disappeared? Mother Lin wasn't afraid that the two of them would fall in love. She was afraid that they wouldn't love each other anymore. When Lin Feng heard this, he lowered his gaze. "I won't mess around and I won't find someone else to play with. If he feels that it's not fresh, then we'll break up. Even if it's hard, I won't regret taking this path." After listening to these words, Mama Lin completely understood that nothing would change. At the same time, as a mother, she felt that the child in front of her had really grown into a man who could bear the burden no matter what. After the mother and son finished talking, Lin Feng planned to go to Grandma Lin's place. Grandma Lin still lived in the old courtyard house. There was a huge locust tree in the courtyard. In Granny Lin's words, she didn't want to leave this place. Firstly, the elders were all here. Secondly, if she stayed here, she would always be reminded of the time when she was young. Lin Feng basically came here every day. Today, Grandma Lin was still waiting for her grandson to peel oranges for her. That brat from the Yin family had arrived. Granny Lin looked up. What's going on? Are they fighting again? There was a slight injury on Yin Hu's forehead, but it wasn't from a fight. His father had smashed it with the jade picio placed at home in a fit of rage. There was no fight. Yin Hu smiled. In order to let Grandma Lin see him more clearly, he bent one of his long legs and squatted down. Do you want me to peel an orange for you? Granny Lin chuckled and said, Did Feng or cause trouble outside again and asked you to come over to take over? This time it's not him. It's me. Yin Hu peeled the orange and lowered his eyes. My dad thinks that I did something wrong and kept scolding me for being a brat. I thought about it and felt that it was indeed wrong. That's why I came to apologize to you. You have always been like this since you were young. Your father is also muddle-headed. They have been staying up there for too long, so their tempers have gotten bad. Your Grandpa Lin used to be like this too. He would always take a bamboo stick and hit Feng. But you were always the one stopping him. Hee. Your Grandpa Lin was so angry that he made the two of you stand against the wall together. Do you still remember that? Grandma Lin patted Yin Hu's head and said, How could you cause trouble? I remember. Yin Hu stretched out his hand and passed the peeled orange to the old lady. Grandma always spoke up for us. Granny Lin took a bite of the orange. It was very sweet. At that time, everyone in the courtyard said that I spoiled my grandson too much. I think that the two of you are very good. Yin Hu passed a piece of tissue to the old lady. But this time it's a little different. I really caused trouble. I pulled Lin Feng along to do something crazy. Grandma, do you remember when we were young? You asked us what kind of partner we wanted. I didn't say anything at that time because I was worried that I couldn't afford it. Now I want to ask Grandma for someone. Yin Hu paused for a moment. Grandma, can you give Lin Feng to me? Granny Lin wasn't an educated person. After all, they were all like this at their age. But at this point, Granny Lin understood what Yin Hu was trying to say, and what he was trying to say. The orange in her hand fell, and rolled on the ground 3 times. Granny Lin paused for a moment before saying, Your dad should hit you. Yin Hu grunted in acknowledgement. Granny Lin was a little anxious. But you are both boys. You and Feng. Or if you are just playing, you haven't. Grandma, you should know that I've liked him since I was young. Yin Hu's voice was very steady. He maintained his half-squatting posture. Granny Lin didn't say anything. After an unknown period of time, the card game outside the courtyard seemed to have been set up. Granny Lin then looked at his face again. I want to wait for my grandson to tell me personally. You can go back first. Yin Hu lowered his voice. Grandma, I came here because I knew that he would come to talk to you about this. But if he were to tell you about this, he would definitely do a lot of thinking. He would definitely feel uncomfortable. It hasn't been easy for him recently. I think it's better for me to explain this matter. Firstly, if Grandma is really angry, you can vent your anger on me first. When he comes, you won't be so angry. Secondly, this matter is entirely my responsibility. He could have lived a normal life, but because of me, he has embarked on this path. When Granny Lin heard that, if you are really angry, you can vent your anger on me first. She thought about the two of them when they were young. It was always the kid from the Yin family who stood in front of her grandson and got hit by her husband. At that time, her husband would always feel embarrassed. After all, he was hitting someone else. But anyone who saw them would know that these two children were really good friends. When her husband passed away, Granny Lin thought about it. Even if the Lin family retreated, many people would still appear. But Yin Hu wouldn't change. As expected, it was usually her grandson who came first and Yin Hu who came later. The things she ate and used were never short. Even the grandson of the Zhang family next door couldn't do this. Every time he came back, other than eating a meal, he wouldn't even touch his grandmother for a while. These two children always asked her to chase them away. However, at that time, Granny Lin thought that something had happened to these two children. After all, they were always at odds. Now, it seemed that it wasn't that they didn't want to take responsibility or let someone down. They both wanted to come over, so they came to her to confess. Granny Lin looked at Yin Hu. If I don't agree, will I become a stubborn old woman? Yin Hu's gaze paused for a moment before he smiled. You are Lin Feng's and my grandmother, not a stubborn old woman. You have been smart since you were young. Granny Lin was still worried. Yin Hu understood what the old lady meant. I won't use my intelligence on him. When the time comes, I will help him to deal with others. Sometimes people were like children when they were old. Who knows if what you said is true or not? Then Granny, watch me. Don't let me do anything that will let him down. Yin Hu lowered his head and started peeling oranges. Granny Lin looked at his unmoving posture and sighed. I have always wanted a great-grandson. That's a little difficult. Yin Hu and Lin Feng had completely different styles. His words were always practical. But it's not impossible. I have already contacted my friends in the medical field. They can find a surrogate. Surrogate? Granny Lin asked. Is that okay? Yin Hu's voice was very calm. Granny, don't worry. Surrogate pregnancy is very common now. As long as both parties are willing, it's not a big deal. I have already arranged everything and sent the things to the other party. After saying this, he looked up. It's Lin Feng's surname. The first child's surname is Lin. The moment Lin Feng entered, he heard this sentence. He didn't walk closer, but he knew what Yin Hu had done. He was still holding a bag of fruits in his hand. He stood there just like that. When Granny Lin saw her grandson, she didn't say much. Her eyes were red as she said, Rascal, come over here. Lin Feng walked over and copied Yin Hu's posture. He half squatted beside his grandmother. Granny Lin looked at the two of them. I don't know anything else, but I do know one thing. Since the two of you have decided to be together, you have to live a good life. Don't be so scheming, understand? Okay, I will. Lin Feng was still a little confused. He didn't expect Granny to agree so quickly, but he still had to be punished. Granny Lin asked Lin Feng to accompany her these days. They went to the temple and then to his grandfather's grave. In this way, the two of them really couldn't go to the club anymore. It was about time. They also realized that the internal selection competition of the Supreme Alliance was about to begin. It was probably because too many things had happened recently. So the competition this time was different from last year. Compared to last year's grand occasion, this year, the Supreme Alliance didn't release any information about the contestants to the media. All the people could see was their game IDs. The core of this competition was to choose the 3 most qualified people from the trainees to become the official members of the Supreme Alliance. However, the voices asking for a reasonable explanation from the Supreme Alliance were already louder than the voices for the competition. There were also some people saying, the Supreme Alliance isn't too old. They used to be so arrogant, but now they don't even dare to say a word. I heard that they only choose people based on their looks because it's easy to gain fans. This competition probably isn't worth watching. I really admire them for using the competition for public relations. After seeing so many things, I'm completely disappointed in the Supreme Alliance. I blame myself for being blind. Chapter 1553. The more it was like this, the more valuable it was for an interview. Someone said that they wanted to give everyone the truth. That was why they waited below the team. This situation wouldn't change even if Lin Feng didn't appear. Originally, Supreme Alliance didn't allow some people to enter. But the 3 trainees who had been interviewed felt that they were protecting their fans, and it wasn't a problem to invite some people in. Moreover, if they weren't guilty, why wouldn't the team face them? This match would be broadcasted live. The team members were all there. They were discussing the criteria to select the people who could become team members this time. First, it was the ability to cooperate with the team. Of course, the most important thing was the individual ability. Every team needed someone like the king of solo challenges. After selecting such a person, he would integrate into the team and improve their teamwork. This was a standard that the team would use when choosing members. But it was obvious that the 3 trainees didn't think so. They felt that the team was obviously biased in their selection. This wasn't the philosophy that Supreme Alliance had promoted previously. Didn't they say that a team was more important? Why were they always lying? The 3 trainees discussed it for a while, and told the fans they brought in about the incident. The fans wanted an explanation. After hearing this, they were disappointed, sad and a little angry. The trainees also felt the same way. If they were to follow this selection standard, the person who would get first place would definitely be that arrogant bae. Why did they have to be suppressed by a little kid? Because she knew how to make Spadesy happy. Speaking of this, they were already disappointed in Spadesy. This time, their goal was clear. After working hard for so many years, they couldn't be eliminated just like that. Since the 3 of them were a team, they would come up with a strategy. As long as they could pull the others to the last place. As time passed, the competition was starting. But at this moment, someone posted photos of Supreme Alliance on the internet, saying that there was a problem with the competition system. When Bojio and Coco walked over, the few people who had entered were still taking photos. Bojio stuffed a hand into her pocket and glanced down. She asked the assistant beside her, "Which department are they from?" "The internal department doesn't allow photos." "This I don't know." The assistant was confused. "I'll check." Bojio glanced over, her gaze landing on their faces. She said slowly, "There's no need to check, they aren't internal personnel." At this moment, those people saw Bojio and Coco. He turned his gaze over and walked over as well. The assistant wanted to stop him. But it was obvious that they couldn't stop it. If they called the security guards, then there would probably be more comments on the internet. For example, they didn't cherish their fans, or the security guard of their idol pushed them, etc. Such news was innumerable. If it had been Bojio, she would have ignored him and walked away. But she was representing Supreme Alliance now, so she couldn't act according to her personality. It was quite depressing. Bojio stood there and didn't say a word. She lifted the corners of her lips, and when her gaze landed on the screens of their phones, there was a hint of mischief in her eyes. He probably understood the meaning behind this smile. Chapter 1554. Bojio tilted her head. The contents of the competition changed? When did that happen? What happened to the team spirit? Now it's an individual. Bojio glanced up. All of you seem to have misunderstood Supreme Alliance. Supreme Alliance's recruitment principle has always been, "Come, take a look at me, a monster that can kill in the game, or someone like the Almighty who can carry the entire game. That's what we want to see the most. If not, what's the point of the competition? We can just play at home. You. Forget it." He didn't want to continue. So many things have happened and you don't even know how to reflect. Bojio smiled. Coco wanted to say something, but she stopped him. She wanted them to leave. But Coco knew it was useless. Compared to this, Bojio was more concerned about who brought the outsiders in. When he looked to the side, he saw 3 figures not far away. So that was it. Bojio turned and was about to take a step forward. Just then, she heard the person behind her say, "Do you know how to remain silent about Lin Feng's matter?" Bojio stuffed her hands into her pockets. Lin Feng has retired. What else can he do other than remain silent? That's amazing, pushing the blame to us. If he didn't do anything wrong, he would have retired. Bojio lifted her lips. No matter what we say, they will misunderstand. What's wrong with remaining silent? I will let more people know your true colors. Bojio tilted her head and took another step forward. Whatever. At this moment, another person shouted, "We've been supporting you for so long. What exactly are we supporting? Are you sure Supreme Alliance won't die with him around?" "I'm not sure." Bojio's voice was calm. "But since we have met him, I can introduce him to you. My disciple, Bei, is said to have entered the team because of her looks. Indeed, we like her a lot. I didn't choose her to inherit the Supreme Alliance. She should take on whatever responsibilities she can. The Supreme Alliance has never been a team that binds anyone. That's why you are so irresponsible towards Supreme Alliance." Bojio didn't reply. This time she really left. However, just as he turned the corner, he saw a small figure. The little figure wasn't wearing her private clothes today. Instead, she was wearing the Supreme Alliance's training uniform. As usual, she was carrying her school bag with a red keyboard in it. In the past, she was always expressionless, and Coco would pinch her face whenever he saw her, saying that she had facial paralysis. Now the little figure was actually smiling, and his ears were red. Coco pretended to be frightened. He pulled Bojio and said, "Big Spade, hurry and check if little Mobe has a fever. This child keeps smiling. F***ck. I always thought she couldn't smile." Bojio was helpless. "Everyone smiles, alright? Why are you so agitated? F***ck, you're too calm. Take your phone and take a photo of little Mobe." Coco hugged his rabbit, so he couldn't take his phone. Hence, he stuffed the rabbit into Mobe's arms and took out his phone. "I have to send it to Lin Feng and Uncle. Little Mobe is so cute when she smiles. She's so fierce when she kills people. Is her personality so cute?" Bojio reached out and caressed her head. She was smiling. She thought to herself, "That's because you haven't seen the Almighty's smile when he was young. He was even cuter and made people want to hug him." Chapter 1555. Bojio paused for a moment before lowering her lids and smiling. Her black earrings shimmered, carrying a mischievous aura. "I've been teaching you for so long. I'm already your master. Of course, you have to treat me seriously." When little Mobe heard this, the back of her ears turned even redder. Her little face was filled with seriousness. "I will work hard and defeat them." "MMH, go ahead." Bojio reached out to adjust his collar. Coco watched as little Mobe carried the keyboard and walked away. He turned his head and said, "Why do I feel that the disciple you taught isn't like you? Little Spade. Your facial expressions are still very rich. I can't see any emotions from little Mobe at all. Instead, she looks a little like Captain, especially little Mobe's fighting style. Without saying a word, she can crush the opponent. She's so fierce. Captain too." Bojio glanced over, her lips lifting. Brother Mo has indeed taught her before. I wonder what kind of results she will be able to achieve after combining our playstyles. Coco was shocked. "You've learned everything? How is that possible?" Bojio smiled. "Little Mobe has her own way of playing. I can only give her some guidance based on her experience. Why do I always feel that when you smile, someone will be in trouble?" Coco opened his mouth and bit the rabbit's ear in his arms. Bojio stuffed a hand into her pocket, her silver hair moving. "That must be your imagination. I'm just looking forward to my obedient disciple's adorable style. Killing as soon as the battle begins. Isn't this kind of fighting style cute?" Bojio's eyes curved into crescent moons. "The word cute depends on who uses it. It has nothing to do with the way you play." Coco felt that he really shouldn't provoke little Spade in the future. A person who could take down the captain was truly terrifying. The competition had yet to begin. The current members of Supreme Alliance were already seated there. Except for some necessary personnel. He was one of the contestants this time. There were a total of 4 teams with 20 people. There were contestants who had passed the closed beta test. There were also high-ranking players who were chosen by Supreme Alliance to participate. First 4-2. In other words, the first round would be a team battle. The top 4 of the winning team and the MVP of the losing team. A total of 10 people would enter the finals. There was nothing wrong with the competition system. The first group battle was a test of teamwork. In the free-for-all mode after the finals, other than himself, the other 9 people were all enemies. It was a test of personal ability. A player who was the MVP of every match would directly become a professional esports player. It was indeed different from before. But it was even more perfect. It wasn't like what the rumors said. However, when it came to the competition system, different people had different views. Those who knew the ropes would know that this kind of competition system was more inclined to select talents. The 4 temporary teams entered the arena. The first group would compete first. The second group's competition. This time, Mobe wasn't on the opposing side of the 3 trainees. Because of the lottery numbers. They were even on the same team. But even so, the performance of the three trainees could be seen with a single glance. Everyone knew that Mo Bei was best at being an assassin. However, one of them chose the assassin position as soon as he entered the field. Even Coco, the young master of a rich family, wanted to say, F***ck, like Lin Feng. What's going on? When those three were practicing, they had never fought against an assassin. Even though they were all trainees of the Supreme Alliance, the three trainees thought that they were not valued. In reality, from the Supreme Alliance's point of view, every trainee who participated in the internal testing was their future fresh blood. It was impossible for them not to analyze the position and data that everyone was good at. It wasn't like what the three trainees thought. But there was one point. Good people needed special treatment. Such a normal problem. From the perspective of the three trainees, it was because Mo Bei knew how to please Spadesy. Then there was nothing to talk about. After all, sometimes a genius liked this point. It was human nature. Moreover, this genius was still wholeheartedly focused on esports. Bojo liked this kind of person. She wasn't a coward when she entered the game. She fought fiercely and fiercely. After the game, she would practice seriously. She wouldn't slack off or have any other thoughts. After the incident, the media wouldn't only interview those three people. The other teams wouldn't only poach those three people. Bei's results were displayed here. Even if no one knew who Bei was. But there were many calls to Mo Bei. There must have been people who offered conditions to Mo Bei. Even when she was at the Qin family, Bojo saw little Mo Bei holding a phone that was given as a gift. She lowered her head and sent a message. She glanced over casually and saw a sentence. I'm sorry, I won't leave the Supreme Alliance. It has nothing to do with money. She replied quickly. Bei, you should really reconsider. I can guarantee you that even though we are still a distance away from Supreme Alliance, in 3 years, no more than 3 years, we will definitely be the best team in the industry. In terms of development prospects, I think you are more suitable for our team. That's right. Suyu's eyes lit up. Your team doesn't have a captain or Almighty Z. You aren't the Supreme Alliance. After sending this message, that child acted as though nothing had happened, and continued to ask her how she could become the first in terms of finances in the shortest time possible. Earning money had always been simple for Bojo. It had probably started from that time. Bojo had the thought of taking in a disciple, but it was obvious. The three trainees didn't understand where they were lacking. Was it just in terms of skills? Not really. It could be seen from the character they chose this time. They were intentionally suppressing and ostracizing Mo Bei. No matter how much they said, they expressed how much they liked this industry. They just wanted to pull Mo Bei down, so that the person who was the biggest threat to them wouldn't have any chance of advancing. If you don't fight in the jungle, little Mo Bei, what else can you do? Feng Shang had already begun to practice his stuttering, so now he could only spit out a few words at a time. Rao Rong had experienced something similar in the past, but he had never thought that such a thing would happen in the Supreme Alliance. He only laughed mockingly. I really don't like this kind of method. Chapter 1556. If that's the case, little Mo Bei's situation is bad. Coco was angry and worried. He really wanted to bite the ears of the three trainees like the bunnies in his arms. This competition is indeed difficult. It's not how to win but how to guard against your teammates. Rao Rong placed his arms behind his back, unwilling to see such a scene. Perhaps he should retire. Because the people around him would gradually become different. When they became different, this team might not be Supreme Alliance anymore. As someone with a criminal record, Rao Rong was able to come out because he had contributed greatly. After all, he wasn't the same as Coco and the others. He had experienced the darkness that existed in the industry for a long time. Hence, once the signs appeared, he would subconsciously not want to get close to it. They would probably fight for another half a year. Half a year later, the titled character retired. Qin Mo and Z would probably stop fighting. That was good. When they were together, they would be together. When they were retreating, they would retreat together. But even so, Rao Rong didn't want to see people who use such methods to enter Supreme Alliance. However, It was very likely that these three people would come in, because from a probability analysis, the difference in strength between the two teams was too great. Their team would definitely win. The three of them would definitely be together in the second round of the Battle Royale. At that time, it could even be said that they had team spirit. Most importantly, the person who was supposed to show his face had lost in such a place. Rao Rong clenched his fists, probably because his thoughts were too dark. He couldn't help it. Who made him go through so much? He would unknowingly overthink. The truth proved. Rao Rong didn't overthink. Because the three trainees looked at each other, the smugness in their eyes said it all. The esports fans who watched the live stream didn't notice. That's strange. The last time I saw the video of Supreme Alliance's internal trainee, Bei was an assassin. His performance was amazing, he had a winning streak and brought everyone to the top. He became the internal trainee of Supreme Alliance with the first place in the single-player competition. I don't understand how he thought of it. He isn't fighting the opponent, but fighting against Bei. Can some people stop talking nonsense? I really don't understand. Isn't it amazing to be the first in the single-player competition? Why did they have to give him the assassin position? What assassin position? He would stay anyway. It's fine to support him previously, calling him a gaming genius. Now he even chose a character to fight against him. If he's really that good, he can bring everyone to the top. I want to see if Supreme Alliance is respecting the rules, or letting him change the character. If it's the latter, then I'm sorry, I won't be a Supreme Alliance fan anymore. It's been such a long time, I'm really disappointed. I don't know about other things, but a good professional player should at least know how to fill in the position. It's too much to say that he's fighting against someone. We are all in a temporary team. Everyone is thinking about winning and wouldn't purposely fight against a teammate. If he doesn't even know how to fill in the position, that only means he isn't qualified to be a professional. Chapter 1557. Top Lane Warrior. Everyone knew that this position was the most stressful position. Under normal circumstances, the person playing this position would face the two enemies on the opposite side. This required the assassin to frequently come to the top lane to help catch people. Otherwise, it would be easy to collapse. But from the lineup, Mo Bei should indeed choose this position. After all, there was a lack of a top lane defender. But even so, some people who had seen Bei's video started to say, "It can't be, will Bei play the top lane? She has no choice, there's only one position left. How helpless, are they going to say that someone else snatched Bei's role? She will use whatever role she is assigned. That's esports. But if Bei can even play the top lane, she will be a true almighty, the all-round type. F***ck, I really want to see that." When the three of them saw the role Mo Bei chose, the smirk on their faces deepened. Everything was going according to plan. They knew Mo Bei the best. She only knew how to jungle, she had never played anything else. They weren't jealous of who they were. They just couldn't stand people who relied on their looks and connections to become famous. Wasn't she good at gaming? Then let everyone see how good she was if she didn't play as an assassin. With a swoosh, the special effect of the game appeared. The competition officially began. Coco's eyes were fixed on Mo Bei and the entire map. People who were used to playing as assassins would find it hard to play the top lane, no matter how good their basic skills were. After all, no one could be Little Spade or their captain. Those two people could really adapt to any position. After all, there weren't many people who could perfectly display their awareness, hand speed and talent. No one could make accurate predictions like their captain, even calculating the cooldown time. These little Mo Bei couldn't be specially trained in such a short period of time. Coco was really anxious. He turned towards Bojio, who was supporting the side of her face with one hand. When he saw her lazy expression, he instantly became listless. "Little Spade, why are you so calm?" "What if I'm not calm? I have to personally play until the opponent calls me daddy." Bojio scoffed. "I want to, but my captain doesn't allow it." Coco inched closer. The assassin position definitely won't support little Mo Bei on the top lane. Little Mo Bei doesn't have any skills to fight in the jungle. What exactly did you train little Mo Bei? Someone like you who came from a proper team wouldn't understand how difficult it is for us ordinary players to win a game. Bojo smiled devilishly. Coco chuckled. Normal players? Is it difficult to win a game? Aren't you ashamed to say something like that to the first clear king of Zone C? When you first came out, how many people wanted to cry? Every time they met you, they would lose. Let me talk about my experience as a newbie. Bojo was unusually serious. Coco saw this and was about to listen carefully. Bojo tilted her handsome face. Her eyes were extremely dark. When your teammates snatch the beasts, you can use them to develop your finances. Little Bebe is very suitable to stand alone in the top lane. I feel like you already knew that this would happen. That's why you trained little Mo Bay in advance. Coco suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Bojo denied it humbly. How is that possible? The more I look at it, the more possible it seems, Coco muttered. Coco muttered, then his eyes suddenly narrowed. Little Mo Bay sent a signal to gather, but no one came. F***CK, what kind of strategy is this? 3 people on the top lane? Chapter 1558. Indeed, it was a tower kill. Because the moment Bojo finished speaking, Chinmo's eyes widened. The assassin hiding in the bushes on the top lane had already moved towards this side. From God's perspective, it could be seen clearly that it was a signal to attack. The opponent's tank took the opportunity when the minions arrived to attack first. After the assassin followed up and attacked, with the ADC attacking from the back, Mo Bay was probably doomed this time. The commentator outside the arena said this. But in the next second, the commentator suddenly became excited. Wait a minute. She dodged it. Movement. Another movement. F***CK, 2 snake-like movements. Is it a zigzag rotation? Beautiful. The screen was pulled up, and everyone could see the game clearly. After Bay used the blade to block the opponent's big move, she turned her body and dodged the critical hit. In front of the computer, Mo Bay moved the mouse, her left hand moving up and down extremely quickly. Of course, she couldn't dodge the opponent's ADC's attack. But she was still under the defense tower. By dodging the 2 most lethal attacks, he would be able to keep his life. They thought that it was over. But no one expected that at this moment. Mo Bay leaped up, using her signature big move. She directly hit all the damage on the tank who was closest to her, and was still under her tower. KO. The first drop of blood. The economy in the arena instantly became the first. The 3 trainees froze in the next second. They were sitting beside Mo Bay. But because of this, they tightened their grip on the mouse. How did this little brat do it? They didn't support him, but he killed himself? Some fans who were standing outside the team and watching the livestream were instantly speechless when they saw this scene. After all, they had heard that the Supreme Alliance only looked at one's face and connections. That was why they came over to express their thoughts. But now, that kind of movement, and even 2 extreme movements in a row. Even though they were amateurs, they could tell that it was too powerful. How to dodge the opponent's moves. They had to know in advance where the opponent was, and when he would cross the tower. As long as they could predict this, they wouldn't die. What made people stop was Bay's counterattack. She used the attack of the defense tower to get the first drop of blood. This was not something that just anyone could do. Your fighting style is still as fierce as ever. Bojo smiled and leaned back, revealing a devilish smile. Little Mo Bay is angry. Coco tilted his head. You taught him that, right? As a master, I have to give him some guidance. She stuffed one hand into her pocket and stood up. She didn't care that people would say that she was biased and didn't care if her words would be recorded by the livestream. Bay, hurry up and finish the match. After you're done, accompany Master to eat crayfish. Many people who were watching the livestream recognized Spadesy's voice, and the bullet screen started flying. Accompany Master? Master. F***CK, what's going on? My Godzi has accepted a disciple. Is this the one you mentioned before? What's there to curry favor with? He must be pretty awesome to be able to get Godzi to be his master. I didn't expect that. Mo Bay couldn't see the bullet screen, but she could hear her master's voice. After all, with this earphone, she could hear the captain and vice-captain's sudden stop. But she couldn't talk to her master. She could only type the word, "okay," on the screen when her character returned to the city. The next second, another piece of news came from the livestream platform. Manager Spadesy had been removed from the platform by Chin Mo. The reason was noisy. Bojo couldn't talk to her disciple anymore. She tilted her head and asked Coco, "Am I noisy?" Coco didn't reply to her. Beeping sounds came from the Almighty's group chat. Bojo opened it. The first thing she saw was a message from the world's most handsome fatty. "Ha ha ha ha, you are obviously jealous of Bae. How dare you say that little Spade is noisy? Chin Mo, you are really passionate on the inside." Bojo sent a message over. "The world's most handsome fatty. Little Spade, I heard that your disciple has a poker face and doesn't talk much. Ask him if he wants to come to Xiangnan. Our captain doesn't talk much either. They are a good match. It isn't suitable for them to stay at your place. It would be embarrassing to disturb your relationship." Boju lowered her lids and typed a few words. "I can leave him there for a few days, but you have to teach him something. If not, it wouldn't be right. F***ck little Spade, aren't you shameless? You aren't giving him to us and you still want to learn? The world's most handsome fatty. Let me think about it. I have my principles." Bojo sighed. "My disciple's cooking is delicious. It's a pity that I have my principles. Which day? Are you coming to Xiangnan, or should I go to Supreme Alliance?" "Forget it, I will go to Supreme Alliance. I can't stay in Xiangnan anymore. Ever since Captain and Luoluo started dating, I feel like a huge third wheel. Even though they don't look any different from usual," Bojo replied. "You don't have to feel it. You are. You don't have to feel it. You are," Raorong replied. "You don't have to feel it. You are." The rest of the messages were all following. After the 10th message, Luoluo replied, "You don't have to feel it. You are. The person involved has appeared. Almighty Fatty, you should know your place. Don't always stay in the base and be a third wheel." When Luoluo saw this sentence, her fingers froze. Just now, she had been joking with everyone like before. Unexpectedly, when she scrolled to the front page, she realized that they were talking about her and Captain. It was too late to retract it. More importantly, the moment she came back, she saw a sentence below. "Xiangnan's Captain Xiao. Sampang, go and rest. The world's most handsome fatty. Captain, I just came. I still want to watch the competition live stream. Xiangnan's Captain Xiao. Go and rest. Spadesy. Why aren't you going to rest? Third wheel Almighty Fatty." Luoluo didn't watch anymore. That was because all her thoughts were on that person. What did he mean by asking Almighty Fatty to rest? If Almighty Fatty really left, they were the only two left in the viewing room. Luoluo glanced up and looked towards the person sitting beside her. At that moment, Xiao Jing placed his phone down. He glanced over, his gaze deep. Zhao Sampang's heart ached when he saw this scene. "Captain, I'm going to rest." MH. Captain Xiao was a man of few words. But Zhao Sampang still felt as though he had been hurt as a single dog. But in the end, Luoluo only had 3 days left in the team. 3 days later, Luoluo was really going to leave. She probably wouldn't be coming back anymore. She looked like she was wearing her uniform. She was only left with 3 days. Zhao Sampang's hand that was holding the keyboard suddenly felt heavy. In the end he smiled. Hence he should give them some time to be alone. Chapter 1559. After Zhao Sampang left, only the two of them were left in the captain's office of the Xiangnan base. She didn't feel anything just now. Now Luoluo realized that they were sitting a little too close to each other. In the past, they would watch other teams' live streams like this. It was probably because their identities were different or because of what he said in the discussion group. Luoluo steadied her heartbeat and looked at him again. She thought that he sent Zhao Sampang away because he wanted to say something to her. In the end, 1 minute passed. 2 minutes passed. 3 minutes passed. He was still watching the live stream. Speaking of which, both their relationship and the way they interacted, it seemed no different from before. Did he really know that being a boyfriend and being a captain were different? If this continued, there wouldn't be any progress. Luoluo had thought about taking the initiative, but she knew better than anyone else that this person never liked to take the initiative. Every time she was live streaming, he would throw a jacket at her. He was an old-fashioned person. Besides the fact that he didn't like it, she was more worried that he would think that she was that kind of person. She knew that he wouldn't. Luoluo straightened her body when she thought about this. Her long hair swayed, and she wanted to say something. But before she could, he raised his hand and tapped on the screen. How do you think the newbie from the Supreme Alliance will play? Luoluo paused. Then she smiled. The disciple taught by Z should be able to use an unexpected fighting style. However, no matter how he fights, the 3 people in his team have made a mistake. Not only will Bei not be kicked out of this match, but he will also be known by more people because of this tricky environment. Esports is just like this. That's why it's worth working hard. She was ostracized, marginalized, and maliciously speculated. Every time, she felt that she should just give up. Anyway, no one would believe that she relied on her own ability to reach this stage. Another voice would come out. Your ability could only be proven on the battlefield. Become a member of a professional team and play for everyone to see. That was her in the past. Now she saw the same method being used on Z's disciple. Luoluo had an indescribable feeling. She felt that she wanted to stay here. It didn't seem to be because she liked this industry. Some industries could erase all your passion. She liked it. She had so many teammates around her. He probably felt the same. That was why he heard her say that after she retired, if she wanted to find a boyfriend, she would have to see if he was suitable. But if they continued to interact with each other, they would discover. He just didn't want her to retire. Luoluo didn't know if she should be happy or sad. She was happy that he would always be her captain. The sad thing was that he would always stand at the position of her captain. Even now they were still asking her the same questions, asking her to analyze every single Supreme Alliance member. She was still subconsciously training her team control. She wanted to tell him, although she really liked him. But if he was only taking care of her as a captain, he just didn't want her to retire. There was really no need to raise such a condition. If she could, she also wanted to continue. However, she understood that her presence would only pull down the battle strength of the battle team. Moreover, there would be people who would say, look, the Xiangnan team that could make her stay isn't that great. But Luoluo didn't say anything. It was because he coveted his gentleness when she was still here. Chapter 1560. Xiaojing, who was still watching the live stream, didn't notice Luoluo's emotions. After all, it wasn't easy for Xiaojing to find out about this. Zhao Sampeng had nothing to do, so he decided to commentate the live stream in the training room at the side. Hello, can you hear me? Yep, I don't know what the commentators on the internet are affected by, but their commentary is too one-sided. Now let me, Lord Fatty, personally say it. The score on the battlefield is 1-0. I'm not exaggerating or slandering, but it wasn't easy to get that first kill. Don't talk nonsense to me. It's obvious that the teammates are isolating Bei. But speaking of which, you still don't understand the Supreme Alliance. No, I should say that you don't understand Little Spade. How can the disciple she chose be just good-looking? What are you thinking? Someone like me? Why can't someone like me enter the Supreme Alliance? Hehehe, the person who said I'm too fat, stop right there. I'm just fat for fun. When I have a girlfriend like Captain, I'll immediately become Takeshi Kaneshiro. Alright, back to the main topic. Although Bei got the first blood, the competition rules are clear. Whoever enters the next round depends on the overall score of this round. I'm siding with Bei? Get it straight, little friend. I obviously want to poach Bei to our Xiangnan. How can I just siding with her? Yes. You really can't understand our thoughts as geniuses. Disappointed? Whatever, I, Lord Fatty, rely on my face to make a living. Xiangnan didn't get the championship this year, and the members are all bad-tempered? Ha. My temper isn't good recently, but it has nothing to do with winning or losing. It's because my most important teammate has retired. Alright, let's not talk about this. Let's get back to the competition. Bei needs to be careful. During the team battle, will her teammates? Before Zhao Samping could finish his sentence. On the screen, the first team battle in the jungle had started. Mo Bei went to support. But the three of them didn't come out immediately after Mo Bei used her skill and took ahead. They didn't come out immediately. Instead, they watched from the bushes and only came out after Mo Bei was killed. This looked like a perfect assassin's harvest. But they could have come out earlier. At least, they could have helped Mo Bei resist a wave of damage. But no one went to resist. Zhao Samping couldn't help but say, F***ck, it's really that sneaky. Someone immediately objected. Zhao Samping was a conspiracy theorist. They were both trainees. Why was he siding with Bei? Also, the wave of assassins just now killed the most people. How was that a sneak attack? Didn't all competitions have to be played like this? Winning was the key. This was a layman's way of saying it. If an ordinary player were capable of such a feat, they would be doomed. Indeed, there was nothing and there was nothing wrong. Or perhaps he was taught by another team. There was no problem. But Supreme Alliance wouldn't teach its members that way. What's more, it wasn't for the sake of winning. It was just to sell out a teammate and pull down a person's score. Even Supreme Alliance, the organizer, couldn't say anything. Because once someone said that this kind of fighting style was wrong, that would cause even greater ripples. After all, they only believed that there was a problem with Supreme Alliance's recruitment. Those three trainees were the ones who truly loved esports. They had worked so hard for so long, why couldn't they make it? That Bei had merely been chosen by the internal department. Someone who did not have a team spirit was not the esports existence they had in mind. Group soul. They seem to have gotten the word wrong. Group soul was never something that laymen could understand. What exactly was a group soul? Chapter 1561. In some people's eyes, the three trainees had become the representatives of the team spirit. After all, if it wasn't for the three trainees, they wouldn't have known that the Supreme Alliance was like this. Under such a situation, no matter if it was Bei or Spadesy, they didn't like it. Even if it was the entire team, it made them feel that if they didn't choose their members according to their way, it would be destroying them. Hence, they wouldn't really use logic to watch the livestream. In the end, the behavior of the three trainees could only be expressed in one word: team spirit. Zhao Samping wasn't the only one who could see it. Bojiu had noticed it a long time ago. She tilted her eyes, the mole under her eyes glowing brightly. But her eyes were cold, as though there wasn't any warmth in them. Coco, who was watching at the side, trembled. After all, he had never seen little Spade like this. One must know that this fellow had always been a great seducer. Her lazy coolness could make the hearts of the people beside her jump. Today, it seemed to be unusually cold. In the game, the three of them started to suppress the whole game. After the first time she was sold. After Mo Bei revived, she stood in the bushes. She seemed to be thinking about something. When Bei set off again, everyone could see it. Bei changed her full attack equipment to a half tank and half attack equipment. Then, she started to eat the economy crazily. At the start, Bei only brought the top lane minions. But now Bei had looted half of the jungle. In this way, it would definitely attract ridicule. Just now they said that they sold Bei to suppress Bei. Look at what Bei is doing now. She isn't going to the team battle, and is snatching the assassin's beasts in the jungle. Isn't she suppressing her teammates? Aya, why isn't Master Fatty talking? Master Fatty can't be too double standard. Be careful not to get slapped in the face. Zhao Samping chewed on a spicy stick in his mouth and laughed. Come, let's explain this to the audience who can understand. In the normal playstyle, the jungle should be left to the assassin first. That's right. But the premise was that it was a normal way of fighting. It was obvious that it was not a normal way of fighting now. Was Bei stupid just because she was young? I didn't realize that I was betrayed once, but I still want to be betrayed again in the team battle. Anyone can see through the situation now. They want to drag me down, but I won't. After I earn enough money, I'll get ready and rely on my positioning and hand speed. Even if I'm betrayed again, I'll be able to fight 1 against 5. This is Bei's next battle strategy. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm helpless. You're just trying to clear Bei's name. Zhao Sampeng swallowed the spicy stick. In your eyes, little spade is black, Bei is black, and Luoluo is black. There's no such thing as white people. We're all yellow people, hee hee. When I heard the end, I started singing along for no reason. My Lord Fatty is poisonous. Lord Fatty's commentary is 666. Master Fatty, don't eat so much. Captain Xiao already has a girlfriend. Seriously, it's time for you to think about your marriage. Stop dreaming about having female fans. It's all us men. Brother Fatty, let me give you a bomb. It's fresher. I've seen it. The female fans came here specially to scold you. There's no other meaning. We know that Luoluo retired and you're upset. Brother, I have wine here. If you're unhappy, say it. Let everyone be happy. Zhao Sampeng felt that there was something wrong with his fans. He looked at his family and then at Little Spade. A group of pretty girls were saying, hubby, you're so handsome today. I saw you during the broadcast just now. I'm so happy that I'm breathing in oxygen. This is Spade's girlfriend number 1. What if there are too many love rivals around? Hubby, when are you going to commentate? Zhao Sampeng is doing it next door. If you do it, I'll be satisfied just by looking at your face. The scene was completely different. There would be no harm if there was no comparison. Zhao Sampeng took a screenshot and posted it on the public chat. He reminded his male fans. The difference is like heaven and earth. I need to be loved too, understand? How much does Little Spade weigh? How much do you weigh? Wake up. You competed with a girl and lost to her. Brother Pang, you're really not as handsome as Spadesy. Brother Pang, are you joking with us? They couldn't communicate anymore. Zhao Sampeng hugged himself and turned his attention back to the competition. The second team battle. Bei won't go up this time? You're wrong. Look at the location on the map. This team battle is near Bei. As Zhao Sampeng finished his sentence, everyone saw Bei approaching with her long knife on the screen. First, she pinned down the opponent's ADC who had low HP. Then the opponent's teammate came to support. Bei turned around and slashed 3 times. She blocked the 2 opponents. While the dizziness effect was still active, she used a big move. But it happened in an instant. Then a sound effect was heard. Double kill. At this moment, Bei's position was especially dangerous. Bei had used up all her moves. Even if the opponent had low HP, she couldn't be killed. It was obvious that the 3 of them were planning to use the same strategy to kill Bei again. Then they would go in and kill. This way, even if Bei killed twice, her score wouldn't increase. After all, she had died more times. But in the next second, there was an obvious change in Bei's way of doing things. She didn't attack the opponent who had low HP. Instead, she took another big move from the opponent and turned to leave. She used her precise positioning and hid in the bushes. Then, she relied on her familiarity with the map and the opponent's positioning to jump back to the defense tower. At this moment, the assassin among the 3 of them had indeed killed again. 3 kills were in the bag. In this way, the final result. The assassin was the best player of the match. But what made them furious was that Bei was in second place, which meant that their ideal result wasn't achieved. But one of them was considered perfect. At least, the best player of the match was theirs. As long as the best player of the match was still won by the assassin in the next match, one of them would become the center of attention. By then, it wouldn't matter whether they stayed in the Supreme Alliance or not. There would be reporters and teams looking for them. Regarding such an outcome, there would definitely be people who would mock Zhao Sampeng. Master Fatty, you should indeed poach Bei to Xiangnan. She's in second place, it's suitable. This time her image as a genius can't be sold. After fighting for so long, she's still in second place. Chapter 1562. The result of the victory made the 3 trainees look at each other. They felt that this was a good method. Coco was a little angry. He even thought that if there was such a person joining the Supreme Alliance in the future, it would be better to disband it. When this thought slipped through his mind, Coco paused. Coco was stunned. Most of the time, this thought had never crossed his mind. Even though he had encountered so many things, he had always wanted to persevere. Actually, if he thought about it carefully, ever since Lin Feng officially announced his retirement, he had such a thought. The Supreme Alliance was liked by too many people. They seemed to be able to withstand the scolding, but not the love. Because once they were liked, they couldn't let them down. That was why he restrained himself. Some words couldn't be said anymore. That was the only way to retain the beautiful image in people's hearts. This didn't seem to be his initial intention in playing esports. Coco moved his fingers. He sat there as though he couldn't stand up. Bojio tilted her head and glanced at him. It's halftime? Aren't you eating? Coco lowered his head. I don't have an appetite. Are we going to play with such people in the future? Coco, do you need me to remind you? Bojio stood up, her side profile evil. The competition isn't over yet. Coco bit the rabbit's ear. That person won the best of the match? So what? Bojio turned against the light and cast her shadow down. They can only be arrogant when they are teammates. Once they are on the opposite side, it won't be so easy. With that, she suddenly placed a hand on her lips and said loudly, Bae, come here. Coco's expression changed. He reached out to press her down. Little Spade, are you crazy? If you get close to Lil Bebe now, they will believe the words of those three people and say that Lil Bebe came in through the back door. What if I take off my uniform? Then, she held onto the railing with one hand and jumped into the Supreme Alliance's specially prepared arena for the selection contest. With one hand in her pocket, she smiled devilishly. I can just retire too, Bojio said as she pulled up her zipper and threw her black jacket onto the chair. Then, she held onto the railing with one hand and jumped into the arena that the Supreme Alliance had specially prepared for the selection contest. Coco was stunned. Bojio's voice could be heard in the live stream. Because they could hear it. Therefore, the bullet screen was simply flying. F*CK, what's going on? It must be fake. Big Spade retired? Retire? Why? Retiring just like that? What are they doing? Almighty Chin, don't say anything. Hurry up and use the excuse of being noisy to make your wife take back her words of retirement. Why do I feel like the Supreme Alliance members treat retirement like a game? Is this child's play? He's not even wearing his uniform, and Almighty Chin is here, but he didn't stop him. Indeed, Chin Mo was standing there. He was still the same as when they first met him, wearing a dark black combat uniform. When he looked at the youth who was laughing recklessly, his gaze was always warmer than usual. Bojio stood there, ignoring the uproar. The three trainees did not expect her to do this. Just like that, he stood in front of them. Chapter 1563. You can use morals to threaten the Supreme Alliance, but to me, it's useless. I'm not a pure person. With that, Bojio glanced over and said, Bae, come here. Because the live stream was an audio recording, the audience couldn't see Bojio's face at all, but they could imagine the scene just from the voice. She was still handsome beyond everyone's expectations. Her silver hair was messy as she stood there. She didn't seem to be controlled by anything. Zhao Sampang, who was on the other end of the computer, was laughing hysterically. As expected of Little Spade, she's so cool. According to the feedback from the audience, she even took off her uniform? It seems like she's really going to cause trouble. Little Mo Bae's head was spinning. Actually, everything else had nothing to do with her. She came to the Supreme Alliance. Other than the fact that she liked to play esports. It was also because of one person. Spadesy, her favorite esports player. If there was a brainless fan, she would be the brainless fan herself. When she thought about joining the Supreme Alliance one day and being able to fight alongside this person, she felt that everything was filled with hope. Now this person was going to retire. It was sudden and without any warning. Compared to so many things, it couldn't compare to the fact that this person was going to retire. Little Mo Bae walked to Bojio's side and was about to speak when someone rubbed her head. That person had a smile on his face as he looked down at her. My disciple, you're still so cute even after being bullied. Little Mobe's expressionless face was slightly red. No. It's nothing. I saw everything. Bojo reached out and placed something in Little Mobe's hands. Little Mobe opened her palm. There was a wristband lying there. The wristband was completely black and there were 2 words Supreme Alliance embroidered on it. Little Mobe paused. She looked at the thing in her palm and her gaze wavered. Bojo bent down and whispered something into her ear. Her voice was very soft. She could only vaguely hear a sentence. Do you understand what I mean? Little Mobe clenched her fists. She didn't speak much. I understand. Let's go then. Bojo smiled. Little Mobe replied with a serious face. There were still many people asking if Spadesy would really retire. After all, Spadesy wasn't like the other team members. If he didn't retire, it would be difficult for him to continue playing. Spadesy was in her golden age. In terms of age and hand speed, no one in the country would be able to surpass her in the next year. Many people did not understand why she wanted to leave. It was simple. She knew how important Supreme Alliance was to that person. He had persevered for so many years. She didn't want to see him just watch as some people joined and think of a way to solve the problem. There was nothing to be gloomy about. This was a problem that every team would face in the end. After all, liking also changed according to the situation. And if you like it, you will feel that you are doing the right thing. When you like someone for a long time, you will have requirements. This was the foundation of man. The root of the problem could not be solved. Let's exchange positions. Some people really wanted to use this method to join the Supreme Alliance. Or they could call themselves the Supreme Alliance. That would have to wait until he or they couldn't see it. Bojo had never done things in a complicated manner. Even Coco felt aggrieved. Chapter 1564. She was originally very dashing. Unexpectedly, after Bojo finished instructing Little Mobe, she stood up. The back of her collar was tugged by someone. It was Chin Mo. He stood behind Bojo and said calmly to the staff, "I'll be taking her away. You guys can tabulate the scores for the next round. Also make a data map. I want to know who the best player in the previous round is based on individual damage." He didn't agree to Bojo's retirement. Instead, he asked them to make a new data map. It was also because of his decision. That was why the 3 trainees' expressions changed. They knew clearly that based on their current results, they had a certain advantage in terms of participation rate and damage. But if it was based on individual damage to the enemy, Bei would definitely be the highest. It was the same for Almighty Chin. Did he only look at individual combatability and not the cooperation between the team members? Some of the people listening to the live stream didn't understand. What is Almighty Chin doing? Doesn't he believe in the data map given by the game? The results are there for all to see, okay? As the commentator, Zhao Sampang spoke up. The best player in the game should be the person who has the most influence in the team. From the analysis of the damage taken to the damage dealt to the enemy, once the team battle starts, the person who contributes the most is clear. Sometimes, the victory of a team battle is entirely because of a good tank support who roars out a big move at the most crucial moment. Not only does he protect the damage output from the back, he also cooperates with the assassin to harvest. Even if he dies, he should still be the best player in the game. Honestly, in this competition, if someone didn't want to betray his teammate, everyone would be able to see who the best player in the game is. Those who believe in the game map given in such an environment should believe it. Those who don't should continue watching the competition. Chin Mo asked for the map with the highest damage to the enemy. That's how the team chooses its members. There's no point in choosing a bastard. Some girls might not understand. You can understand it simply. Chin Mo came out to bring Little Spade back. After all, this guy has always been jealous. Alright, let's stop talking. The second round is coming. Everyone was still immersed in the news of Spadesy's retirement. Just then the livestream screen switched to the game. This time, there were also 10 people participating in the competition. The only difference was that it was an individual competition instead of a team competition. Everyone had their own camp. The game map was the most difficult fog map. This was indeed a test of everyone's basic skills. Only those who had mastered the game would have the courage to challenge such a map. After entering the game, everyone's position would be different. As soon as someone came up, they would run into someone else. Before they had the time to kill monsters in the wild to buy equipment, they would start fighting each other. Under such circumstances, it was also a test of individual skills. Whoever had better positioning and awareness would be eliminated under the same conditions. But obviously, the three of them didn't think so. They were originally good friends. As soon as they entered the game, they reported their locations and found each other. Then they began their encirclement. One of them was the main attacker, while the other two were the support. The rules did not say that it was not allowed. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.